Cooperative care is a framework for working with animals that doesn't just ask them to tolerate procedures, but instead makes them an active participant in their own care. By teaching the horse how to say no through the use of start and stop buttons, paying attention to their body language and thresholds, and progressing slowly and methodically, we can greatly reduce the amount of fear, anxiety, and stress they experience in countless situations. A cooperative care approach can be used for multitudes of procedures, such as oral syringes, needles, farriery, even everyday tasks such as brushing and grooming. And a cooperative care approach has been successfully implemented with a wide variety of species, both domesticated and wild. In this video, I'm going to show you the full process of working through a fear of touch using a cooperative care approach, as well as give you examples of other ways that I've implemented this approach with horses. This is Finn. He's an 8-year-old Morgan gelding that I've been doing behavior consulting and training with for issues around aggression. But before I actually get into talking about the details of these issues, I wanted to actually tell you something that I love about him. I love how strong Finn is. He has such a big personality. I love horses that have this big, powerful personality. However, he has become dangerous at points. His aggression was originally caused by pain from stomach ulcers, and when his communication wasn't listened to, he escalated to biting, lunging, threatening to kick. He has a low threshold for frustration and can become agitated quickly when training is unclear or too difficult, and he does become aggressive when he is frustrated. I've also noticed some mild resource guarding around the hay with the other horses in his herd, and food, specifically withholding food or negative punishment, is also a trigger for him. Because of his history, he has become extremely touch sensitive and won't willingly let anyone touch his body, but occasionally his face is okay. With most horses, I wouldn't use this much food reinforcement because they often do enjoy grooming when they can opt in and out. However, because Finn escalates so quickly, it can be dangerous to only rely on his body language to decide whether he's okay with being touched. And instead, I'm teaching him concrete start and stop buttons to allow him to communicate to me when he is okay with being touched. And before these clips, we did already work on some stationary targeting and a bit of default neutral, but otherwise he doesn't have much other positive reinforcement training. So in this clip, I'm teaching Finn the start button of touching the brush. So I'm just rewarding him whenever he touches the brush, trying to feed him with his head in the middle of his body.
Yes.
With Finn, I'm also using non-contingent reinforcement. You'll see me reinforce him even if he doesn't touch the brush.
Yes.
For him, any behavior that isn't aggressive or dangerous is an okay behavior for him to show. So I try to keep a very, very consistent rate of reinforcement and avoid punishing him because he doesn't touch the start button.
Yes.
A mistake I made in this clip is not reinforcing him enough for default neutral, meaning when he's standing in a relaxed position with his head in the center of his chest. In this clip, he is bending quite a lot and being a bit muggy for the food. So I think rotating between asking him to touch the brush and default neutral would have helped.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
He shows some frustration behavior here as I move to go to the other side of him. And I'm working on it from both sides because eventually I'd like to be able to brush him from both sides. Although I should have just kept it simple and stuck to one side for this first session. Now here's the biggest mistake I make. As you see, I pulled my foot back, really scared him, and he showed aggressive behavior, which that's my fault there.
Yes.
So now I'm just trying to get back in the game, just reinforce for when he's standing there. He doesn't have to be perfectly calm. I'm not trying to shape him into calmness. I just want to get to a safe point where I can continue working with him.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So I did try and introduce touching him there, but that again was a mistake. He wasn't holding his head in his neutral position. Another mistake, I should have been approximating differently and not touching him right away, and instead slowly working up to it, as you can see I do in the next repetition.
Yes.
With most horses, it's okay to make mistakes, as long as you aren't repeating those mistakes. So there was much, much better. I'm approximating, I'm just pretending to brush. He has calmed down quite a lot. He, as you can see, he doesn't quite understand yet that touching the brush is linked to brushing. But he'll get there.
Yes.
This is a session on a different day. I left the full door up, both so that he can have protection from me and that I can also be protected from him. As well, it kind of restricts his neck movement, so he isn't able to turn into me quite as much, which helps keep his head straighter. He also is much less shy about his head being touched in general, especially when compared to his body. It can sometimes be accepting of someone just touching his face, whereas his body, he definitely does not enjoy. Having this partition up can help him feel safe because he knows that I can't touch him further down his body other than just the very top of his neck and his head. As you've seen, I've also done a much better job at approximating towards brushing him, just gently, almost touching his face with the brush. Now here, he does touch it. However, I don't go to work to touch him because he is showing a bit of frustration and discomfort with the idea of that.
Yes. Yes.
This time, ideally, I would have reinforced him for not touching the brush instead of bringing it up and down, but it was still quite a beautiful repetition when after he did touch it, so I'm not super upset about it. I learned from my previous lesson, and I started rewarding him for default neutral. Again, just doing some reinforcement, especially after that kind of strange repetition.
Yes. Yes.
Again, I would have reinforced him for not touching it, but since he was hesitant, I didn't go and use that as my cue that he's okay with me starting to bring it up to his face again. So I'm using a combination of both his touching of the button as well as his body language and communication signals to ensure that he's safe and comfortable with the process, as well as me. These are the type of repetitions that I'm looking for before I really progress into touching him. I want him to feel quite neutral about the idea of me touching him and quite soft and receptive to that idea. So this is quite beautiful here. There, he creates the stop button of turning his head away, so I reinforce him for that. So now we can start introducing a stop button as well as a start button, so he can opt in and also opt out. I finished this session by giving him a big reward in his corner bucket, and then leaving and allowing him to process and work through what we worked on today.
Yes.
That was very good.
So this is the most recent session I had with him. Again, we have the full door up. I think after this, I would be comfortable using the rope again. But it's good not to change too much too quickly. As you can see, he's really starting to think about it. He has made that connection. Touching the brush means working towards touching his face. So I still haven't really touched it to him, but there I did gently touch his face. For the first little while when you're working on this, it's good to always touch them in a consistent way so that they know what to expect. I wouldn't use this same start button, touch his face, and then all of a sudden go to touch his shoulder, because he isn't prepared for that, so he doesn't know what he's agreeing to by touching the brush in that case. I reinforced him even though he didn't touch the brush. He's thinking about it now.
Yes.
Oh, good boy.
Here he is showing that aggressive, frustrated behavior. As well, he's starting to be a bit teethy when he's taking the food rewards. And he's the one actually who pulls his head back out of the door. So I take this as a cue that it's time for us to take a break. I walk over to the corner and just give him some food in that feed pan that I was using earlier. What's interesting is that he walks back to the door himself. I'm not leading him over there. So he started to use standing with his head through the door as a start button in and of itself. And this is something that he'll do even if we're working on other things other than just the brushing. So this is a cool thing that has just emerged as we play with this together. Because he was doing that nippy behavior before, I took some time just to reinforce him for standing in that default neutral and to make sure that he is safely taking the treats before I go and add something that might cause emotions in him. So when I see that he is consistently taking the food rewards safely, I introduce the brush again. Here he notices something in the distance, so I take a step back. I give him a food reward to see if he will just get back right into the game, but there is something going on out there. I look just to make sure it's not something right outside the door, and when he's ready, I start the game again. We're starting to have some really beautiful, soft repetitions here. I'm very happy with how he has been progressing with this. It is taking quite a long time compared to what I do with the majority of horses, but he isn't the majority of horses and he deserves for things to go at his pace and for me to listen to him and care about what he wants and how he feels. Hopefully, we'll keep progressing this way and be able to work up to grooming his whole body. But for right now, this is good. This is great.
Yeah, that's good. That's enough for today.
Here's a clip of my mentor Bree using a cooperative care approach to help Peekaboo through a saddle fitting. So she presents the saddle to him, and if he turns his head away, that means no, I'm not ready yet. And when he touches the saddle, that's his start button to say that he's ready for the saddle to be put on.
Alright, want to come over to go? Okay. Where do you want me to be? Does it matter? I'm just going to feed him while you adjust things. Just have me feed him so then he has to feed.
As you can see, Peekaboo is still stressed during the saddle fitting. However, the stress he's experiencing is less than it would be if this was just forced on him. And it's also a good video to show that when you are doing cooperative care, the procedures they're going through might still be aversive. However, by using cooperative care, we're able to decrease how stressful it is for the horse. This is an example of a finished cooperative care behavior. Here, Cole opts into taking this oral syringe. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed, consider hitting the subscribe or like button. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you're interested in learning how I might be able to support you in applying a cooperative care approach with your own horses, you can visit my website, which is linked in the description. There, you can read more about my coaching practice and perhaps book a lesson with me. That's all for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.